Yo, welcome back to another episode of the Devil at Me Daily. It's on the Soul Prosperity Network where we align with being taking care of yourself, loving yourself, and elevating your mind, man. Today's episode, this one right here is really just about shifting our perspective for a little bit more. Because we're gonna be talking about manifestation, a little bit something deeper. No surface level conversations on Devil the Aqua Daily. We dive into conspiracy. We got some conspiracies we're gonna dive into later as well. We got a lot of things we do dive into on this podcast. I like to just keep it real and authentic and keep it, elevate our minds daily. You know what I'm saying? Having a space where we can talk about different topics, taboo topics that most people don't talk about, bruh. So let's get into it, bruh. You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about manifestation, bruh. Like, cause you know what I'm saying? Most people they think about manifestation, spirituality, they think of being positive. They think of affirmations and visualizing and if I just want it bad enough and shit like that, bro, and it's just gonna show up. But you gotta look at your life right now, bro. That's your real manifestation. And now say what you want, bro, but consistency, you are creating what you consistently being, what you consistently thinking, your habits, your beliefs, and your emotional state. That's what creating your reality every fucking day. You feel me? And you can say I want success all fucking day, but if you until you move like someone who doesn't doubt themselves, who doesn't procrastinate, who doesn't avoid being disciplined, you're not gonna be aligned with success. And you're gonna be aligned with what the struggle with BS and dumb shit. You feel me? Your life doesn't reflect your desires; it reflects your identity. You feel me? So let's get into let's dive into that shit, bro. Because your identity is like a signal, bro. You gotta look at like your identity is like the light bulb, what people see and they perceive you for, and how people are gonna treat you. So every day you're broadcasting something, bro. Like you broadcasting a frequency out, and life is gonna respond to that signal. Not just your words; it's a frequency. You feel me? It's like deep down something that you feel like. Let's say you feel unworthy or you don't love yourself or some shit like that, bro. You know what I'm saying? You'll attract situations that confirm that shit. You feel me? Hold on, let me get some water. Yo, this shit been right in front of my face. I'm looking at this shit. You know what I'm saying? But for real, what you believe, bro, is what you create, and that's just that simple, bro. You're gonna be experiencing that delay in your life, even if you don't. Even if you say you want everything that you want, but if you don't believe that shit, you still gonna have that delay. So if you feel powerful, disciplined, and focused, then your life will start reflecting that energy easy as fuck because identity controls our behavior. You feel me? For real. For real, your personality creates your personal reality, and behavior creates results as well, bro. So the real question isn't, bro, what do you want, bro? The real question is, what are you being, bro? You don't get what you pray for, bro. You get what you align with. You feel me? You can pray all day and do all that, but if you don't align with it, you will never get it. Now, like this, where it get like even more serious because this is where most people get stuck here because most people don't want to hear this shit. Changing your life requires changing yourself, and that's uncomfortable because your current identity is familiar, your current reality is familiar, you like your current friends, all that shit familiar. You feel me? Even if it's limiting, even if it's painful, it's comfortable. And so, what do people do? They try to manifest a new life without becoming a new person, and they want new results, and they with all the same mindset, the same habits, the same friends, the same environments. They want something new, but they want elevation without the transformation, and it doesn't work like that. And I had to realize that, but I had to transform myself inside out, my environments, everything, to create something new. And I have to stop carrying on the same habits, the same excuses, and the same energy. You feel me? Into this higher level of life that I'm trying to live and that I'm creating and that I'm living at this current moment. You can't manifest a new life with an old identity. You feel me? You have to create a new identity, become a new person to create a new reality. And it's just like that, my nigga. You feel me? That's just what it is. No excuses with that shit. Becoming the version that attracts everything you want, bro. Like that's all it is. You have to become the person, the version of yourself that's attracting this reality that you say you are. Because everything you want is already, you're already that, bro. In another universe. Look at that shit like that for real, bro. On some think about the Marvel shit. Look on this shit on like uh Loki. Loki was doing some shit in different. It was a female in different version universe, nigga. Different universes of yourself, nigga. Even with the Iron Man, he finna play his new role. What's his name? He finna play Doom. You feel me? He finna do play. I think he playing Doom, man. Yeah, he playing Doctor Doom, bro. Let me see. Make sure I'm playing right. Yeah, he playing Doctor Doom. You know what I'm saying? He finna come back play Doctor Doom, and he Iron Man in the universe. That's like you. We could be a villain in the universe. You could be the creator of the universe, and you get to choose your reality. You can go literally shift your reality to become the best version of yourself or the version that you see yourself being. And you just have to ask yourself. It starts with uh, it like it starts with you becoming aware. You know what I'm saying? Because we ask this shit for how do you actually shift into this shit? It's simple, bro, but it's not really easy. For you got to start asking yourself what version of me is already, has this life. You feel me? And what do they do daily? How do they think? How do they move? How do they tolerate? How do they avoid? You feel me? What do they avoid? And then you start becoming that. And now, not later, not when it shows up, bro. And now, because manifestation isn't just about getting, it's about becoming. You don't wait for your life to become better. You become better, and the life starts reflecting it. You feel me? You feel me? That's the law, and that's the truth. You feel me? And stop trying to attract it. Start becoming what you say you want to be. That's all it is. That's literally all it is, bro. But let's bring this shit all full circle, bro. We're gonna end it out on our motivational section. Let's bring it all full circle, bro. Like, you don't need to chase everything. You don't need to force anything. When you become aligned, things start flowing. Opportunities, people, ideas, they meet you at your level. But if you stay in a low state, you'll keep experiencing resistance. So the real work is internal. If it's your mindset, your discipline, and your self image, because once you change that, you don't have to chase your life anymore. Your life starts coming to you. You feel me? So I want you to really sit with this, bro. You're waiting on your life to change. Your life is waiting on you to think different, move different, be different. Because the moment you shift your identity is the moment your reality starts catching up. So if this message resonated with you, bro, share this with anyone you need to hear it. And remember, you align your energy and your life will follow. And caught my new ebook, you know what I'm saying, it's out now. You know, Rewired and Awaken is out. Go cop it, bro. Only $17. Like a 1 day read, 30 pages. Tap into it, bro. Shift your mindset, bro. But let's get into some topics that I had on here. The topic is the demasculation of the black man.
We are developing epidemic levels of the effeminization of young black males. I say the pants sagging down is just a subconscious invitation for homosexuality. You see, it's revealing the buttocks. See, so the pants are getting lower and lower and lower. The next step is to step out of the pants altogether. And so you step out of the pants, you're going to put on a dress. The black men are destroyed. Then the black people are gone. And we have the state of genocide.
Hey, bro, facts. Facts, bro. Like, this shit crazy because I was reading Dr. Cress Westland book, the ISIS paper, and one of the first days she talked about how it's a war chemically and mentally and genetically. It's a genetic war on us. They want to literally wipe us out. They don't want us here. They want to kill us off. You know what I'm saying? But we will never be killed off, bro. Because you got to realize you can't kill the creator, the original man. We are the original man. Like, they literally hate us, and some. I'm not gonna say everybody just hate us like that, but some people out here generally hate us and want us to be genetically, like, genetically destroyed in a sense where it's literally a war on our to make sure that they stay in the majority, bro, and they will never be the majority. We are the majority. Once all these continents came together, black people in South America, Africa, it's black people all in every fucking country. If we all come together, we're literally the majority. And they will never tell us that shit is always a separation through all these continents and all these different things. And we need to come together as a community. We need to start coming together and show our real lines and our real numbers. You feel me? It's literally a war to keep us separated and keep us from having babies. They were turning, a lot of freaky shit going on. You feel me? All weird shit. So we have to be very careful of the shit that we're taking on and that we're believing in, what we make it normal in the community. You feel me? I guess facts. And the book she was talking about how it's genetic war on us. Like they really doing anything chemically, mentally to destroy our to destroy us genetically. You feel me? And that's just crazy. Shout out to Dr. Chris Westland, the ISIS paper. Every black man should read that shit. Let's tap into the Native Black Americans. Though they always heard the story of that it was Native people here, and I have Native people in my family, so it's kind of insane. Let's tap into this shit.
If you look at pictures from the 1900s and beyond, most of the Native American people were very dark skinned. Sometimes they were very jet black. But most Native American people before 1900, if you look at photos of them, they're extremely dark skinned people, especially on the West Coast, like in California. The California Indians were very dark skinned. The Indians that were around the Minnesota and Milwaukee area that we know as Milwaukee and Minnesota now, they were very dark skinned people. The Native Americans on the East Coast were very dark skinned people. In the late 1800s, there was something called the Dawes Rolls, which was basically a census that made records of people's ethnic backgrounds in order to determine which Native American tribes would get certain land allotments and other benefits. After slavery, many black people were associated with some of these tribes by bloodline, through marriage, through adoption, and even servitude. And because they were associated with these tribes, many black people were entitled to some of these benefits. The government did not want blacks to get these benefits, so they created a separate freedmen's list specifically for black people. They also started to list any full-blooded Native American who had African features as black because they didn't want them getting those benefits either. At the same time, they allowed white citizens to come in and pay money under the table to be listed as part Native American.
1895 and 1896, when a lot of the whites found out the benefits that these blacks are going to be entitled to, a lot of whites went to the Dawes Commission and say, look, why don't you put my name on there? They said, but you're not an Indian. So they said, well, I'll give you $5. So then the rule got around, the policy got around that for $5 that a white could put his name on the Dawes rolls and be called himself an Indian and be entitled to all these benefits, and all their children could be entitled to all these benefits forever. And so that became known as what's called a $5 Indian. And so if you go around now and check most of the Indians, the so-called Indians in America, about 90% of them are not even Indians. Those are just whites now who are passing as Indians. But they're getting all the benefits. And they're not paying any taxes, getting free college education. They put up a little reservation on the land that they don't live on. They have another home off and get all kind of benefits.
Hey man, for real, bro, that shit is insane, bro. I always wonder where the $5 Indian name came from, and like where those different things came from. That shit is always like a question, bro. That shit is insane. Being able to just pay some money, a certain money, to go get on this list to be, a $5 Indian to be a fake Indian is kind of insane. But I wouldn't be surprised shit if that was going on. That's insane just to hear that history. I always wonder where the $5 Indian term came from. Let's get into the next topic though, bro. How they still are inventions, bro. They literally steal everything. Nigga was stealing identity. You niggas steal a little bit of everything. That shit crazy though. But you gotta literally realize, bro. It's what about the Jews? You know how they say that the real Jews are black, and that that they steal our identity as well. Why do people always find? Why is it always written in our history that people are stealing our identities from the Egyptians? Now we're not the Egyptians. The black people weren't Egyptians, and these different things. Why are people always stealing our identity and then or rewriting our history? Or stealing it and then rewriting into their history and shit like that. Why is that? Or their mythology, you feel me? Why is it always that, bro? It makes me always question that, like, bro, why do they always want to steal our history? What's so special about us? That's how you know we special. That's how you know we that. Anything we do for the way we walk, the music we like, the dress, how we dress, They mimic it, and that's crazy. That's insane. But we gotta tap into this shit. How they stole our inventions too. They need to stealing shit.
One began as a slave. That's not what God put you here for.
If you know anything about the history of slavery, that's the first thing that they did. They beat your history and your native tongue out of you. And what's amazing about America, even the state of Texas, the school board is now expunging slavery out of the books, so they won't have to be held accountable for what they did.
It's going to be difficult for people to prove intellectual inferiority. That's why even in our textbooks in school, they don't like to teach our children about black inventions. Because even greater than our African history are our American inventions. Because from nowhere, you're coming up with things that revolutionize the American social and economic order.
Well, basically, there is a proverb that says that the only thing that peoples of European descent ever created was the patent office, because they stole everybody else's ideas and put their name on it.
During slavery, because you were the property of your master, a lot of what we invented was automatically given credit to the master. The credit was forwarded to the master because we was property. We weren't allowed to take fame or notoriety for the things we created.
Anything that made work easier.
Crazy.
Why would white people want to invent something that make work easier when they have black folks to do it?
You have a huge incentive to try to get things to move smoothly so that, you don't get any more lashes. Or somebody doesn't now have to sell someone else in your family. There was a lot of incentive to create inventions.
And that's another thing. Most of our black inventors had to deal with idea theft. White folks would come in and say, we did it first because we didn't necessarily know the process or have the money to patent our inventions. So white folk will find out what a black person invented and go do it real fast and get their application in, because back then the process wasn't as thorough as it is now. Whoever got their application in first to the patent office, that's who got the patent. So we got thousands of inventions by black people. We'll never even know it because of the fact that they were stolen.
They don't want anyone to know that we invented things. If it wasn't for black people, white people couldn't take a dump. A black man invented the toilet, and he just made it white on purpose.
A slave by the name of Black Sam, Eli Whitney's slave, created the idea for the cotton gin, and his master took it and patented in his own name. How could he do that with no benefit of books? He wasn't even allowed to learn.
A lot of people assume just because African slaves were illiterate, they were ignorant. And there's a real big difference, because African people, they had a very elaborate language, or elaborate languages over in Africa. When Africans were brought over here, they were taught a bastardized version of English, and they weren't even allowed to see the language written down. And they were taught the language by lower class Europeans who were living in the South. So even though there was that major obstacle, blacks still did phenomenal things. Thomas Edison was known for stealing people's inventions. He was known for taking the inventions of a few African-American inventors. Lewis Latimer, Granville T. Woods actually went to court with Thomas Edison, and Granville T. Woods actually won his case.
Thomas Edison tried to bring Granville T. Woods to court on that invention. And I just saw a commercial for Mazda, I believe, cars, where they said, here's a man holding 1,000 patents. Well, 90% of them he stole.
Alexander Graham Bell and Thomas Edison, who are probably considered America's two greatest inventors of all time. But guess who was designing their blueprints for the patent application? A black man. Now let's think about this for a minute. If you invent something, why do you need me to do the blueprints for the patent application? If it's your idea, how in the hell can I do the blueprints for it? You can't do the blueprints for my idea. I have to do them. So if Latimer is doing the blueprints, if he is your chief draftsman, and he's doing your blueprints for your patent application, Alexander Graham Bell, did you invent the telephone, or did Lewis Latimer invent the telephone?
Thomas Edison had a whole troop of people that was in his sweatshop, and depending on the invention, he would hand it over to that particular department and tell them, see what it is that does, and then do something a little different, and we'll patent that. And when he took Granville T. Woods' information and tried to make it his own, the court said no.
The watermelon in black people stereotype, that came and that was popularized by Thomas Edison. Around 1890, Thomas Edison put together this Nickelodeon reel. And there were these African-American men who were joking around, shucking and jiving and kind of mugging for the camera, and they were eating watermelon. And Edison filmed this, put this out, and the general public saw this, and they said, okay, African-American people must really love watermelon. And right after that film came out, thousands of postcards and all types of memorabilia flooded the market of African-American people eating watermelon. So that watermelon stereotype was popularized by Thomas Edison.
A lot of people don't know there's an African-American male who is significant, has patents on the first major computer chips that made computers operate.
Other inventors that we don't know about, essentially, who they call the father of the internet, was Philip Emeagwali, a Nigerian man who essentially created the connection for quantum bits of information so that multiple computers could actually communicate with one another.
During slavery, and this is well documented by white people, many of the masters, when they were sick, did not call for the physician. They called for the big mama on the plantation. And she would come with her medicine bag that didn't have alcohol and rum. It had all types of things that she made from the herbs that she had planted. Some of them said, I don't want the doctor. Bring me the witch doctor, that voodoo woman who I own.
Africans took what they brought from Africa, which would be a ground hockey, and all they did apply the game to ice.
When the British were fighting the United States, there were African slaves or former slaves assisting the British in fighting the U.S. When the U.S. won and the Britons lost, many of the African Americans were sent to British colonies in West Africa, and many of the African Americans were sent into Nova Scotia, Canada, and they formed what we now know as hockey. They started to play this new game called hockey, which was something that Africans were doing in Africa. In ancient Kemet, there was a form of field hockey that they were playing, and they went into Canada and they created what we now know as hockey, and there were actually black Canadian hockey teams in the early sport of hockey that a lot of people don't know about. And there's a great book about that called Black Ice that talks about the early inventors of hockey who were men of African descent.
No, that's crazy, bro. It's like how they stole so many different inventions or patents, or they were patenting and then they were stolen. It's crazy. Like not knowing the process of doing it. That's still happening to this day. People get their ideas stolen for not knowing how to patent it, bro. But let's get into this last topic. They were the original vampire. They always made what vampires came from, and that you know that the be in the movies and shit. Let's tap into it.
There is no evidence of cannibalism in Africa. In fact, if you read a book called Man-Eater, there's more references to Europeans eating each other in the cold than there is Africans eating each other in the warmth. Why are you going to have a need to eat each other when the Creator and the Son has given you mango and peanuts and food to eat that comes to you plentifully? There's no evidence of it, but again, to denigrate Africa and Africans, they have to create an image that people are going to shy away from.
There's so many fallacies about African people and African history and culture. And cannibalism is one example. You know, based on my study, I found more evidence of cannibalism practiced among Europeans in Virginia in the 1600s. There are documented cases of the first settlers coming to Virginia from England, coming here in fall and in the dead of winter and not having enough supplies to see them through that season. So there's documented instances of people exhuming the bodies of the dead and eating them. There's one particular instance, I forget the gentleman's name, but actually I read this in a National Geographic magazine about a man whose wife died and he kept her death a secret so that he could eat her corpse and survive the winter.
The cannibalism was going on in Europe big time. There's a lot of evidence showing the cannibalism that was going on in Europe. As a matter of fact, this whole vampire phenomenon that we have is rooted in the cannibalism that was going on in Europe in the Middle Ages. One of the most famous vampires, Dracula, Count Dracula, is really based on a real person named Vlad Dracula, who's also known as Vlad the Impaler. And there's a very famous portrait of Vlad the Impaler from around 1499, sometime in the 1400s, showing him and these people that he impaled on the stake. But they only show half of this portrait, because when you pan out of this portrait, you will see Vlad the Impaler literally at a dinner table eating the body parts. And I mean, he has like knife, fork, salt and pepper, like he's at Applebee's or Denny's or something.
You have to remember at the time, Isabella, or the queen at the time, put a bounty on slaves. And part of the edict that she sent out was anyone or any of the people that you catch who are cannibals, you can enslave them. So now everybody would say, okay, they were cannibals.
That shit crazy, bro. The story of hearing that shit, how they were vampires first, is crazy. And I heard that the first time, like, bro, this shit's insane. But ain't gonna, that's another episode, Devil Element Daily. Hope y'all been taking care of yourself, man. Loving yourself, tapping in, bro. See y'all guys on next episode, 444. Like, comment, subscribe.